Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to or watching Service Business Mastery podcast, and I'm here. I'm your host, Tersh Blissett, and sitting virtually next to Joshua Crouch, my co-host. And I feel like this is like the 100th episode we've done today, but in reality, this is episode 3. And if you have watched all 3 episodes, kudos to you. I will give you a
whatever
this book right here.
Whatever free thing you have from all the shows you go to.
I'll give you one of those AHR bags that I have with all the gadgets in it. We're going to talk about extended warranties for equipment and how, well, one of the things with extended warranties is how it separates you from the competition. But at the same time, we're going to talk about why what you don't know can hurt you. When it comes to the extended warranty world. So we have Trinity Warranty with us here on the show today. I'm not super familiar with Trinity, but Josh, you said that you are, correct?
Yeah. So 2 HVAC companies ago, we used, we sold through Gustav Larson, we sold American Standard Equipment, and that's one of their partners. So they use the Trinity Warranty program. And we always, as we leveled up our packages for people and went to the higher end equipment, we always included extended warranties with that stuff and purchased them through Trinity and Gustav Larson, because we always wanted to, it's like anything else in business. You want to stand out and have something. You want to try to get people to go to your better product because A, they're going to be happier. Yeah. B, they're not going to have any problems. And if they do, it's covered. You don't have to worry about a thing. And that's what we always try to do, is get people into those systems with those extended warranties.
Do you ever find that people wanted, you're up north, y'all can sell 10-SEER stuff still.
10-SEER.
Do you ever find the 13, 14-SEER stuff that they would want the extended warranty, like the 10-year?
They try, but that's the thing with that 13-SEER stuff. So 13-SEER right now until the new DOE update, then I think it goes to 14 here. But with 13-SEER, we wouldn't offer the extended on the 13. It would always be 14, 16, 18, 20, I think is what we had. We would start offering extended warranties on those because the whole purpose was to get them out of the base package or the builder package, if you will, into something that's going to be better for their home. Because we all know that single stage equipment, people are going to complain because it starts and stops, and they never get comfortable. Yeah. If they go with at least a 2-stage, we know that that's going to bring an additional level of comfort. So let's do that and pair it with an extended warranty, because that extra investment, it's a pretty sizable investment for somebody to make.
Yeah, very.
So that's what we did.
Tell me this. So this is completely off topic for what we're talking about today on today's episode. But if you've ever listened to an episode of this podcast, you know that this is just something I do sometimes. Have you ever heard of anybody who, when they're creating their prices for their equipment, they just do a flat, let's call it $4,500. No matter what tier their equipment is, they're making the same amount of money on it instead of it being based on percentages, their margins on percentages.
Well, I think a lot of people make that mistake. That's why we see all these group chats about pricing and what are you doing and how do you calculate margin pricing and stuff like that. Still is a concept that people are still it's eye-opening. What?
Really?
You make so you make more money on the higher end equipment? Yeah, we do. We have more risk too. And a lot of times that stuff takes longer to set up because now we got extra controls and wires and stuff like that with the communicating equipment. So I would we always put a margin on it. We kept the same. It was hard for me at first when I first learned it because I wanted to lower the margin a little bit because I'm like, oh man, that price is really high
on the high end stuff. Yeah, I've seen.
And I'm like, ooh, and then it's at a certain point you're just like, you know what, it is what it is, and this is the price. We got to make the same margin so we can cover our overhead and then have these expenses so we can go build our business. And it takes a little bit. You really got to trust. You just got to trust that this is going to work out, and people have done it before, so you're not the first one.
You're not reinventing the wheel. I'm super excited to have Gus and Rich are on the show today, and we're going to talk a little bit about extended warranties. And so let's get started with the show.
Are you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
Hey, welcome to the show, Gus and Rich.
Hey,
Welcome,
Tersh.
guys.
Hey, Josh. Good to be here.
How are y'all today?
Doing good.
We're doing well.
Good. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about what you have going on before we get started.
Sure. My name is Gus Vasilopoulos. I'm working at Trinity Warranty. Been here for a little over 2 years. My background is marketing. So I've spent probably before I came to Trinity a good maybe spent 7 years before then in marketing. And before then I was more in the finance accounting, but transitioned to marketing. So I've been with Trinity for 2 years, and we're going to talk a bit about extended warranties. That's their street name, but they're actually extended service agreements. That's the formal, name for them. And Rich has a different background than me. Rich, tell us about yourself.
Well, as you can see, I'm the old guy. So I have been around the industry for quite a while. Many moons ago, I actually started as a helper when I was in college. And I have worked with a contractor and was a commercial account rep. Actually was part owner of a HVAC trade school. And so and then a lot of experience here with the extended warranties, extended service agreements. I've been at Trinity here for 7 years. And so kind of a very diverse background in HVAC. So I have a lot of interesting perspectives. And I like to think of myself as having worked in the field with a contractor. I understand the day-to-day challenges of operating a contracting business and how the extended warranties can play a part in helping that.
Rich, I got a super important question to ask
Sure.
you. So it's been eating at me since you told me you're from Chicago. Are you a Bears fan?
Yeah, but I mean, there's not much to cheer for right now. The Bears are selling
like me. You probably hate us Packer fans.
Well, all I know is we're subservient to Aaron Rodgers. He told us that.
He owns you guys, man. That's what he said. He owns you guys. So
Well,
you didn't realize he was a part owner of the team, did you?
with that $50 million a year that he's getting, he could probably buy part of the Bears.
He could probably buy me too.
Oh, Jim said easy on Bears. So, guys, let's talk about the things that we should know about the extended service agreements or extended warranties, and the things that we don't know that could possibly hurt us.
Sure. Rich, did you want to maybe hop in here? Let's talk a little bit about setting the tone as far as some of the audience that maybe doesn't know what these are. And, some of the things that, we want to kind of lay the groundwork before we start telling them.
Some of the basics. I mean, ultimately, the extended service agreement complements the OEM's warranty. So, pretty much all residential equipment will come with a minimum of a 10-year parts warranty. Mm-hmm. And our product, what it does, and contractors, they may include a 90-day labor, a 1-year labor on their workmanship. What our product does is basically gives them the opportunity to purchase a 10-year labor and offer their customer a fixed cost solution for 10 years. So that if they have a compressor that goes out in year 7, not only is the compressor covered by the OEM, but the labor to replace that compressor is covered by the extended warranty.
So, Rich, let me ask you a question real quick.
Sure.
How often do you, because I don't know, this is something that I feel like in our industry, it's ignorance is bliss. It's probably the best way to say it. people assume when they hear that they got a 10-year warranty and it's a 10-year manufacturer warranty, that there's the assumption that that includes the labor. And then after a year or 90 days and they need something repaired, and then all of a sudden they have to pay out of pocket, you're like, wait a minute, I thought that this covered my extended warranty. Like my warranty was included all this. And then also, like, let's say that it's within a year and it's a refrigerant needs to be added to it, and the refrigerant's not covered under a manufacturer's warranty. And then they're like, wait a minute, that's a part, blah, 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 blah. And so, like, how do you see that as often as I feel like it's probably there? I don't know.
You know, what you're bringing up, I think, is more standard than you think, because you know, when you're selling that system to your customer, basically you're telling them, okay, it's got a 10-year parts warranty. What your customer has heard is it's got a 10-year warranty.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, they and contractors do their best at trying to put it on their proposal, or, you know, any kind of sales document that they're signing, that it's just 10 years of parts. But ultimately the customer hears they've got a 10-year warranty.
Mm-hmm.
And how it plays out, Tersh, is like you had mentioned, you know, all of a sudden the compressor goes bad in year 7. The contractor walks in, tells their customer, hey, you have a bad compressor. The good news is it's covered by the OEM. The questionable news is you have to pay me $1,000 to replace it. And that's when the interesting conversation starts. You know, because the customer goes, wait a minute now, you said I had a 10-year warranty.
Mm-hmm.
And the contractor will go, well, no, I said you had a 10-year parts warranty.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, there's negotiation, because the contractor doesn't want to upset his customer.
Right.
So that $1,000 becomes $800 or $750. Now we take the same scenario with the extended warranty product, and the contractor walks in and says, okay, I have bad news. Your compressor is bad, but the good news is the compressor part is covered by the OEM. The labor is covered by your extended warranty. There's nothing out of pocket you need to spend.
Yeah,
that homeowner has a smile.
Oh yeah, and I feel like whenever you have the conversation with them about, like, whenever you're selling the system to them, when you're offering system replacement options, and you have the extended warranty on there, and at that point, if they decide to remove the extended labor warranty, and then 7 years later, obviously, I don't remember what I did yesterday, much less 7 years ago, but it's easier to have the conversation like, hey, look, I offered you this extended labor agreement, and you declined it at that time. And especially if you could show records of them declining it. And then that's a little bit easier. You don't have to really negotiate the price of the labor at that point, because it's legit, like what you said. But we're also going with the fact that the average person lives in a home for 7 years, and so at the 8 or 9 year mark, a lot of times it's not the original homeowner. Is that service agreement transferable, or is it gone when the original homeowner moves?
No, the Trinity product is transferable.
Okay.
So as if there's the home is sold, the new homeowner can get the agreement transferred to their name, as long as they basically contact us within 90 days of the sale.
Gotcha.
So one of the things we even tell, we tell a contractor, even that they can tell the homeowner, is basically that extended service agreement is an asset, because when someone is buying a home, if they're thinking, well, they will be concerned about the mechanical systems. Mm-hmm. And so basically they'll be saying, well, I don't like the way this looks or whatever. This is an 8-year-old unit. I wish it was a brand new one. That basically the person selling the home can say, hey, you've got another 2 years worth of coverage. If there's something that goes wrong, you're covered.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that 100%. That peace of mind, because a lot of people don't realize the cost of moving into a house. Josh, he's about to experience that firsthand. And but one of the things is you get into a new house and then all of a sudden you have to replace the air conditioning unit. It's gonna be 10, 15, $20,000, whatever it is. And you have that extended warranty. That's just an extra layer of peace of mind for sure.
Is there a way you guys recommend as far as during the sales process of promoting this in a way that the communication is a little more clear and concise, so that way it does, like, you can take and add your offer to their product and make it stand out and make it differentiate that contractor? Or are there any recommendations or things that you guys have that you train contractors on or help them kind of understand a little bit better?
Yeah, Rich, if I could take this one.
No, please do.
Yeah, so I think a big part, and I've seen some of your podcasts, some of the folks that you've had on, where they speak to, empathy and really trying to get make a bond with a customer, and not just like, hey, I'm trying to throw a system in and then get your money and have a good, have a good day, And,
speak for yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
But, you do a lot of work around, branding yourself as a responsible caring company. And when you put a package together, it's, some people, and we'll speak to the two ways that I see contractors kind of doing this. They feel like it's their responsibility to make sure the kind of scenario that was just described never happens, from the standpoint of, hey, I never want to be in a position where I'm arguing with my customer that the warranty that came with the manufacturer is not going to take care of their, labor. And you know how that is. If you get a bad review, somebody saying, hey, this guy, I remember one of the podcasts, they said that 50% of the feedback that they get from HVAC contractors is that they're thieves, or that, they're rotten, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's just another reason for that sentiment to kind of perpetuate. Right. And this really, the contractors, they approach it with different, strategies, but the one that we see and the one that we feel is the most successful is that they make that part of their product. That being said, they don't say that, hey, you know what, we're going to put in this system and we'll good, better, best you on the warranty. You do 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, or whatever you may want to offer. They just say, this is the way we do business. Like, we're going to put in a system, you're going to dish out, 10, 15, like you said, 20 grand. You're going to finance it, and we're going to make sure that you're covered. I mean, we're looking out to make sure you're not going to have to dip in your pocket for $1,500 or $1,200, 4 years down the line, because, hey, you know what? Sometimes the manufacturers make mistakes too, right? So they'll give you a compressor, but I mean, is it your fault that you got to dish out $1,200 for the labor? You know what I mean? So you really kind of seal that empathy and that looking out for the customer to make sure that, hey, you know what? I'm looking out for your long-term kind of comfort. Right. So the one way I would say is that customers, they just brand themselves that way. And they say, listen, you know what? Yeah, we might be, or they may tell you, hey, you're about a few hundred or 1,000 or whatever the pricing, you're going to do as far as margin, more than my competition. But, you speak to the fact that, hey, you stack the value as far as being there for them long term. Right. And that really sets them apart as a way of doing business, not so much, hey, this product's better or that product's better, or this tier or whatever. It's like, hey, we just feel that this is the way we got to do things. I mean, imagine, you put a system in your brother's house or something, and he's like, hey, Tersh, man, you just put in a system and you broke down a year from now. You're going to go there. You're going to take care of them. I mean, they just,
that son of a gun. He's lucky if I don't burn his house down. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So, and it really just, like you were talking later on, when you go to that home 7 years and they're covered, I mean, they're talking you up, right? They're giving you another review. They're just, they're going to town telling people, man, you can't believe this, man. My compressor blew. It was a hot day, and they came out, they took care of everything, and that was it. It's an experience that really goes into your brand, and it really helps kind of set you apart, like you were saying, Josh. Now, that's the one avenue. The other is the good, better, best model, right? So you walk into the home, and there's different ways to go about it. So we do offer different years of coverage. So you can do a 2-year, a 3-year, a 5-year, a 10-year, right? It doesn't have to be 10 years with everything that you sell. And you can go, walk into the room with different models and attach different labor warranties to those models, or optionality on every tier if you want, right? We try not to tell the customer or the contractor exactly the way they should do it, right? Because everyone has their own kind of, they have their own consultants and they have their own advisors and they have their own way of doing business. But what we do is at least explain to them what we've seen in the market, and what they can do is, when they open up that book that kind of goes through the different options, or if they're using an iPad, they can add, a screen or an option where they say, hey, here's another option, right? You could do a 3-year with a system, a 5-year or 10-year. And then, like you said, Tersh, as far as the, if somebody doesn't take them up on it, or if you've included it and then they're really adamant about getting it off, getting off their invoice, well, you do that, but you have a record saying, hey, my customer, picked it up.
If I can interject something, and, Gus has been kind of humble here. One of the things that Trinity also offers is Gus works with our digital marketing, and we have a contractor portal that he has training tools that the contractor can use, and some videos that they can basically take and incorporate into their presentation to their end user and help to explain the extended service agreement product, sometimes better than some of their salespeople can.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And
that's a nice addition.
Yeah, what that does is that helps you, like I've seen this said before, when somebody's trying to get a price from you, it helps you stack the value first, let them know what they're getting. Like, here are all the repairs that could happen. These are the costs that you could be seeing down the line. And these are all covered, right? And it's not a deductible. It's not a calling Trinity up and getting approval. It's broken. There's a work order signed by the customer. And then, we take care of the customer, the contractor. So the homeowner's not going to have to fiddle with anything, right?
It's not like a home warranty that
right.
We've dealt with.
It really gives the power to the contractor to use the product how they feel it's best for them. We equip them with every different best practices, you could say, but we really leave it up to them. And then there's the hybrid, right? There's some contractors, what they'll do is they'll come in with a 3-year. That's the way we do business. 3 years on everything, or 5 years on everything. And then they'll offer, hey, you could do an additional 5 years for an additional cost, right? So we've seen that as well. As a matter of fact, I remember this is one of Rich's accounts. They actually started out with the 5-year, and they were sick of dealing with what was kind of described in earlier, where the customer would be like, hey, you know what? I thought I was covered. And they said, listen, we're not going to sell anything but 10 years. They upped it to 10 years and said, this is just the way we do business. We're not going to hassle and haggle with people, because, they actually had a bad year. I forget which systems they were putting in. And
I think it might start with a Y and end with a K.
But, they had bad coils. They had bad coils. And they were 70 some coils they did that year. Oof. And, if they didn't have a warranty, they got the new coil, but the customers were hurting for that service.
Well, I think that's an important point too, because every manufacturer has had batches where they have problems. Mm-hmm. Every single one, different coils, TXVs, on and on and on. This helps protect you too as a business, because one, the headache, the anxiety, the stress of trying to deal with all the customers with these problems, and then also trying to collect from them. And then, and maybe we want to segue into, because I know George had a question here.
With what George has a question about too. One of the things that I will say that it also would help with, we've had conversations in the past on the podcast about this, and that is client retention. At the same time, it kind of puts almost an invisible handcuffs on the client with you. Like, obviously they could get the extended warranty transferred to someone else if you were providing bad service. But if they would stay with you as the contractor throughout that entire process. And for us, we I don't know if y'all do or not, but we require maintenance agreements throughout that process. Is that something that you require as well, or?
Rich, why don't you take this one?
Yeah. You know what? We prefer that there is a maintenance agreement in place. Excuse me. It is not mandatory, but the goal is basically to incorporate the maintenance agreement along with the extended warranty for a number of reasons. Number one, obviously with the maintenance agreement, the equipment is going to run more efficiently over time, and it just gives you more opportunities to get into the customer's home. And continue to build that relationship.
Yeah, it's hard to swallow the pill of they have 6 Siberian Huskies with hardwood floors, and the return is on the ground, and the air handler's right there, and then never had a maintenance agreement. It's 11 years old, or it's 8 years old, and there's blower wheels gone bad magically, and it's never had an air filter in it. I'm surprised.
No, Turch, they changed the air filter the day before you come out.
Yeah, right.
I just changed it. I don't know what the problem is.
Obviously, we've never dealt with anything like that.
Yeah,
No, of course not. Of course not. One of the reasons I brought up that whole contractor portal and the tools available is, once again, from being in the field, what you discover is salesmen don't sell what they don't know how to sell.
That's true.
If there's a new product that a contractor brings on board, there's always, the tech meeting and the sales guy meeting once a week. And usually the company comes out and talks to those techs and those salespeople about the products and about the benefits, and tries to give them the tools so that they can explain it to the customer, the benefits of it. And once again, having worked for a contractor, sometimes people walk out of those meetings and going, I'm never going to do that. Or I don't know how to do that. I don't feel comfortable with that. And so having that whole contractor portal, as well as something that they can download into that presentation, takes away some of that anxiety.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What I want to speak to that, service agreement. You may not have, or the homeowner may not choose to use the contractor for that, that service agreement, but they're required to do their own service if they're not going to use you. So that's kind of that goes with the manufacturer's warranty as well. I mean, within the manufacturer's warranty, it says, hey, we expect A, B, and C, right, as far as maintaining your system. So most homeowners, when before you leave their house, obviously you want to get that maintenance agreement. You let them know the expectation that the manufacturer has. Like, you got to do these 12 things. You can do them. Most can't, or don't want to. And then, they'll say, yeah, I can handle that. At least then they know what the expectation is, right? So that they're not surprised if, like your example, there's a ball of hair in the blower motor, and they're like, hey, you know what? The filter's clean, but what's going on here, right? Or there's like 3 inches of cottonwood on the condenser outside, and it's like, hey, or they never removed the cover for when summer came along. From the one that they had. So yeah, it does, your general maintenance needs to be there, right? For this to kind of work. And it helps, like you said, to, kind of talking to the customer about, hey, this is what we do with this maintenance agreement. It's not just another way for us to, get some more money out of you. We're taking care of your system. Right. Yeah. I'd like to talk about this question that George kind of put up here. So, the nice thing about these programs, it provides the flexibility to the contractor to pick their reimbursement rate, right? So if a contractor is at a certain level, we have reimbursement rates from $75 up to $150. So if a contractor, is okay with 75, and in their market that's what's going, then that's what they pick. And then if they're looking for a higher reimbursement, they can go up to 150, right? And Here's one of those, what you don't know can hurt you is when you talk to companies like us, you'd want to find out, well, what's that reimbursement actually look like? There are some companies out there that may claim to have a higher reimbursement rate. Like, let's say they're giving you $85 instead of 75, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a product of two things. So at least to find out how much money I'm getting in my pocket for the service call. It's a product of the reimbursement rate, and then how many hours are allotted for a repair. So just to give you an example, let's say a capacitor blew. You go to the home, and for whatever reason that capacitor is gone. The one company could pay you $85 an hour for the repair, but they only pay you half hour for a capacitor repair. So now you're looking at, and there's usually a trip involved too. So you're like, okay, This company, they're at $85, automatically like, oh, this is more reimbursement than the $75 tier. But then you actually do the math and you get half an hour for the repair and you get $65 trip. And then you're looking at, and then some parts lounge, you're looking at $130 to roll a truck, which is nothing, right? Mm-mm. And then, for us, for instance, the bottom tier of, the $75 reimbursement, you get 1 hour trip, 1 hour for the repair, and then a parts allowance. So you get $185 for that, capacitor change out.
So let me ask you about that. So how as a contractor, how are we supposed to be able to, how do we know the difference? Like, how can we compare these things when we're trying to select an extended warranty provider?
Yeah, and this is you ask the right questions. Okay, so one is obviously what is the different types of coverage, and what is the pricing for that coverage? So that's the upfront cost, right? But then on the back end, there's usually a program guide that describes the function of that extended service agreement, right? So me, when I talk to contractors, we'll go over the cost, but we also talk about the reimbursement. And usually what the contractor is looking for is like a high-low, simple repair, capacitor, contactor, whatever. What's that going to net me at the end of the day if I pick, this reimbursement level, right? And then on the high end, it's a compressor, it's a, it's an evaporator coil. What's that going to net me, right? And they kind of know what they expect to get for those, right? This is their business. So, if it's let's say at the, let's just pick a $125 reimbursement level, you get the same hours for the repair. You get the 1 hour for the repair, 1 hour trip, and then a parts allowance of $35. So you get $285 for a contactor change out. Somebody can look at that and say, you know what, that works for me, right? It works for my market, for what I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to do things. And then on the high end, if it's a compressor or an evaporator coil you got to pull out, we pay 4 hours for the repair, 1 hour trip, and then we also give an additional hour because you're going to have to pull, open up a seal system, pull a vacuum, and then the parts allowance. So then you're looking at, close to what's that going to be, $785, right, for that type of repair. And then you kind of have an idea of, hey, this is where I want to be, right? Mm-hmm. Or you want to go to the 150. Everyone has their own kind of way they want to do business, right? And you pick a plan that works for you. And then that's from understanding, when you're looking at one company or another, or even a manufacturer, you got to make sure it fits your business model. A lot of the, manufacturers try to make you fit into their kind of setup, right? So we try to give the optionality to the contractor to be able to build it the way he sees fit for his company. And then there's the other question you could say, right? It's like, okay, obviously, the higher the reimbursement, the more the cost. It kind of makes sense, right? So some contractors say, listen, I'd rather make that on every sale, right? I'd rather make that extra $300-400 that I'm going to pay you for the, the additional reimbursement rate. I like to make that on the sale, because the reality is maybe I'm not going to get that claim because, I'm not going to need to.
Because I did a good job installing it.
Well, there's only a certain percentage too that are going to have any problems, right? Especially if they have a maintenance agreement and you require a maintenance agreement or something. Like, there's things that you can probably do to offset having those issues later on. So your failure rate maybe is 1 or 2%, and now you're really not worried too much about coming back to something that is under warranty because you got it up front. If that homeowner, like right now, like, so I'm full disclosure, I didn't tell you guys before the show, I'm moving to Arizona, and people are like moving houses like every 2 to 3 years down there because the house values are like ridiculous. And so people that bought houses 2 years ago are now selling. And so anything they got installed, like, it's, their warranties and all that stuff are going with them, or they're being voided or whatever. But a lot of people are moving. They're moving from different, house to house, or if they're remote, they can move to, like myself, I can move to a warmer climate. So I'm not stuck inside for 6 months a year. So stuff like that, where you can kind of, there's so many factors that it really, like, worried about a little bit of price here, a little bit of price there. At the end of the day, sometimes you're almost over analyzing something that just like, let's find a plan I'm comfortable with. Let's make sure I know the details, like you're talking about, the details behind the repairs, so I know exactly what I'm getting, make decision, and start selling.
So the last thing, and we've been talking really for a while. I didn't realize it. So refrigerant, how does that even work? Because it's different, even like in the manufacturer realm. Like there's certain things where it's like, oh well, refrigerant's not covered on that repair, and that's even though it's a part on the in the system.
Yeah. So for the extended service agreements, that also holds true. So refrigerant wouldn't be covered. So when a contractor hears that, like, you know what, refrigerant's going up, you know, I'd like to get something for it, right? So what I always say is, hey, listen, think of the reimbursement that you would need to get to cover that refrigerant. So just kind of quantify that when you're picking your reimbursement rate. So if you're saying, hey, $100 is where I want to be, but you know, refrigerant isn't there. Well, where do we need to be so that the cost of refrigerant is factored into the reimbursement, right? So I would say, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, let me interject something, okay? And I just a correction here. We do cover refrigerant in the case of a burnout or a leak. So those are covered by the agreements.
But if it can be recovered and reused,
then it's not covered. If the refrigerant is not contaminated and they're just replacing a TXV or whatever, then basically what we're anticipating they're going to do is recover it and recharge. But if it is contaminated or if there has been a leak in the system, the refrigerant is covered.
Cool.
Usually at the cost that the contractor incurred.
Yeah. Right now, R22 is it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. I have a lot more questions, but for the sake of respecting everybody's time, probably need to wrap things up here. But before I go, where is the best way for people to learn more about Trinity Warranty or connect with you guys?
So obviously you can come on our website. It's trinitywarranty.com. You can, if you can call, obviously there's a number there, or you can email us. I'd be happy to provide some emails if somebody wants to reach out to us directly, Tersh, and we'd be happy to answer any questions they may have.
You can get those for like the show notes and stuff like that. Put that down on the bottom. That would be great.
Yeah. Okay. I'll throw it up there, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. So trinitywarranty.com is our website. It's got, several different ways you can reach out to us. There's a chat, there's a contact us, there's our telephone number, so they can definitely reach out to us there. But yeah, that'd probably be the best way. And then I'll throw my information on the comment section here, so that people have it. We do play. I just saw Cheryl throw in there. Do you pay a reclaim allowance? So that was one of the additional hour that I spoke to, that you get. So that is for the reclaim.
Okay. That's
and
good.
there's also, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that this devil in the details type thing, because there's different warranty providers out there, and knowing what is behind it, like don't look at the rate that might entice you on the front end. Like, how long do you get for these repairs? Do you get extra time? I think I honestly I had no idea. I didn't know any better. You guys took care of us when we used you, but I didn't know any better when that stuff came. So I'm glad. Hopefully somebody picks that up from this episode and understands that stuff. So when they're so they actually compare apples to apples versus apples to oranges.
Sure.
And one of the things, the trip charge, like you mentioned, I mean, our standard program is basically the trip charge gets reimbursed at the same amount of as your labor rate. So if someone is picking $125 labor reimbursement program per hour, the trip charge would be $125. Now, we can also customize a program where they say, well, I don't need $125 for a trip charge. We can customize it and make it $75. Okay. So like you said, it's our standard product is basically the trip charge is mirroring the labor rate, but it can be customized. And that's a very good point, because there's other companies that they pay the $125 an hour, but their trip charge is only $75 or $85.
Oh, yep.
That's
so
awesome.
We got ask lots of questions to make sure.
Yeah, reach out if you guys
clarity.
If you guys need clarity. Reach out.
Yeah,
compare these things. Go deeper on these questions if you need to. These are great questions. I appreciate anyone that jumps into these live streams and stuff and asks questions, because it helps us to kind of guide what you want to learn about. So we appreciate that.
100%. And Gus and Rich, we really appreciate you coming on the show and taking some time and spending with us and answering all the ridiculous questions that I have anyways.
Thanks for having us,
Well,
Trish and John.
we'll be happy to do a sequel if you get a million questions about it.
All right. That sounds good. That sounds great. I appreciate you guys. See you.
Likewise.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.